vacation. I'm at home, but yeah, my lungs are not doing too well.
Okay, all right, it's 5:15. Let's call the meeting to order. Rock Valley College Community District 511, Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, May 14th. My speaker's not on, I guess. Can you not hear me with the speaker?
Ow!
Okay, meeting is called to order. May we have a roll call, please, Mr.
Yes.
Secretary?
Gorski,
Here.
Nelson, Kudia,
Here.
Kennedy, yes. Magueda,
Here.
Simpson,
Here.
Trojan.
Here.
We have enough for a quorum.
Thank you. Two things before we get going. Number one is we have a very heavy agenda, so I would ask that we get our questions or comments right to the point and we'll move on. And number two, don't forget, we're being live streamed, so we have to be on our good behavior.
Why are you looking at me, Bob?
I was just looking down both sides. Okay, do we have a means for other than physical presence motion?
Make-
We need one, yes.
We need a motion.
We'll make a motion for board members' attendance by means other than physical presence. I make a motion to allow trustee Soltal to attend tonight's meeting by means other than physical presence.
Second.
Hold on. Gorski,
Yes.
Nelson. Hold on. Kudia,
Yes.
Kennedy, yes. Nuega,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Trojan.
Yep.
Motion's passed.
Okay. Item D, I understand there is no public comment.
No, but you want to acknowledge that she's on the phone.
Oh, sorry. We do acknowledge that trustee Crystal Soltal is on the telephone listening in.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Okay. So, no public comment. So item E is visitor recognition of visitors. Someone going to introduce the visitor?
Yes, I will hand it over to Dr. Pyer.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, trustees. It's my pleasure to introduce our newly elected student trustee for the 24-25 school year, Mr. Nico Mikos. And Nico will be sworn in, I believe, at the end of this month for his first meeting, and we'll thank Juan at that time appropriately for his service for the last year. So I think that's it for this evening, sir.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to the group. Welcome to the board. Okay, no other item on that one. We'll move on. Review of minutes. Any comments on the minutes from April 9th? Hearing none, we'll go to general presentations. Number one is the student voter registration.
Yes, we will have our SGA president, Jasmine Nathan, and our student trustee, Juan Negueda, also commencement speaker, Juan Negueda, speak tonight regarding the student voter registration.
Hello. Oops, sorry about that. You guys able to hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Nathan, and I'm the current Student Government Association president.
Do you hear up a little bit more? Speak up.
Good evening, board. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Jeremy, just turn theirs up.
Turn it up a little bit. We can't hear.
I could use the.
Good evening, board. Good evening, board. Does that sound better?
Okay. Use your big sister voice.
You'll have to yell.
All right. Good evening, board. And
You're fine. She
the
can do
mic.
it. It's fine.
wonderful, wonderful. Good evening, board. Good evening, members of the community and administration. We are very happy to be presenting to you our brand new initiative with piloting through this civic engagement program. Just a little bit of a backstory. Jasmine and I, our current SGA president, were sitting down after one of our meetings and we were just reflecting on what this beautiful journey to serve this institution at our respective capacities we have achieved. And we decided that it is only right that as we are coming to the horizon of our respective terms, that we do one final contribution to this to this institution. And what a better way than empowering our students to be civically engaged.
So over the past year, we partnered with the League of Women Voters to register students with voter registration, and like Juan mentioned, we wanted to do more, which is why the Student Government Association is developing a program that will allow students to be civically engaged every single year through the Campus Democracy Challenge from All In. This civic engagement program will be piloted throughout the fall of 2024 and will promote, nonpartisan voter registration and voting. All In provides guidance and resources to colleges to further promote voter registration and voting. Partnering with All In Campus Democracy Challenge will allow Rock Valley College to understand and collect student voter habits and collect data from the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement. Next slide, please.
Wonderful. So what is the vision for this All-In Campus Democracy Challenge? Well, the main vision is to empower students to become civically engaged leaders. So how will we achieve this? Well, first and foremost, we're going to participate in the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge. This is an institution-wide challenge that promotes civic engagement for all of our students through a nonpartisan effort. We will be creating a sustainable and effective civic engagement environment after this challenge in order to promote sustainability in the long run, not just, do a challenge, end it there, and then no, we wanted to keep this going for the long term. And of course, the way to ensure this, even after both Jasmine and I are no longer serving this institution in our respective capacities, is to creating a student civic engagement campus ambassador within SGA. So what this position will do is they will pretty much handle the administration end of this stuff.
Currently, we do not have any specific data on student voting registration habits on Rock Valley College's campus at all. We hope to collect more data through this challenge and through this entire program through what I mentioned already, the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement. This provides a detailed report of student voter registration habits, and it's free and will provide a detailed report broken down into race, age, all different demographics, and even broken down to different fields of study. Next slide, please. I'll speak to this. The Student Government Association's mission is to advocate for the rights, freedoms, and responsibilities of students to promote a healthy and inclusive environment and encourage student involvement to improve the general student well-being. We believe that the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge and this program aligns with our mission and furthermore aligns with the institutional student learning outcome cultural competence under the civic engagement module.
Wonderful. So just a little bit of an overview of what we're currently doing as an institution. As Jasmine had mentioned earlier, we're currently working with the League of Women Voters. What they essentially do within our institution is support students register in order to be able to vote. However, what we would like to aspire to, which is of course to aspire for more, is to develop student voting ambassadors, as well as celebrating the civic holidays throughout the year. We would of course like to incorporate this not just as an agenda of its own, but rather incorporate into activities that we already have going on across our campus, such as the Welcome Week and Resource Fair that we host at the second week of every semester, as well as expanding social media promotions.
We've developed a timeline, which is included in all of you guys' presentations. And not going to go over every single event, but there are a few things that we do plan to do, such as developing this program throughout the summertime, which will be led by a committee of student government, the campus activity board, student life, academic affairs, and marketing. And throughout the summer, we'll be creating a voter engagement plan, which we will furthermore execute throughout the summer into the fall to later on celebrate those civic holidays that Juan earlier mentioned. And in July, that last point does say outreach to candidates for a forum. I know you all are familiar with the Board of Trustees candidate forum that we do every other year, and we'd like to host another candidate forum just like that, but with legislators.
I'm sorry. Wonderful, because we know this will require a lot of work, is why we've started working as early as in May, after we drafted our ideas and try to develop that method in which to implement this all-in campus democracy challenge within our institution. However, later on in the year, from August to November specifically, is where more of the execution phase will be able to come in. So as Jasmine mentioned, I will be participating. Sorry, where am I? Oh, there you go. Host the table at a Welcome Week. Just to start us off, to slightly introduce this topic into the student body, and then as we progress throughout the year, we'll have more concrete per se events.
And I did just want to highlight the National Voter Education Week. Although this Campus Democracy Challenge is focused on getting more students to register to vote and to get out to vote, we do want to teach students what it means to vote, why you should, and the importance of everything. So that National Voter Education Week will consist of in-classroom activities and outside of the classroom activities. And I did mean to mention in the last slide that with this candidate forum, we do plan to partner with the League of Women Voters because they already host forums throughout the year, and hopefully we can be the host of the next one. Next slide, please. On the slide, these are some of the colleges who have also participated in the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge, and there's some data on each of the links of their success stories. Next slide, please. Sorry. So the sustainability plan after the challenge, as Juan mentioned before, we do want to give our last contributions to the Student Government Association Next Generation of Leaders coming in this year. We do plan to work with them and to guide them throughout this challenge and even post-challenge. I know I'll be here next semester to help them with this, so that way they are able to have a foundation to be able to build upon after this. And now we would like to answer any questions you all may have. Trustee Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, is this something that is informational, or does the board have to endorse this, or in other words, is this going to require some board action?
I don't believe this will require any board action. We would just like to, we just chose to present it to you today, so that way you are aware of it, and we just ask for your support.
Well, I think it would be hard for the board to somehow vote against encouraging young students to register to vote. However, when I was in college, we had a very good incentive to vote, and that was the draft.
Yes.
When you started off, you mentioned it's all in. Is that like is there an allin.com or .org that we could find more information on it?
Yes, All In, it should be linked in the actual presentation online, but All In is a specific challenge through the Campus Democracy, it's my braces, I'm sorry. Campus Democracy Challenge, it's a whole entire organization that multiple colleges use. So yes, you're more than welcome to find more information on that.
Okay, sure, thank you.
Of course.
My comment would be I know you're gearing this up for the national election, but what about after that, you know, there are other interim elections going on, basically at lower levels, if you will. Will that carry forward into those elections too?
Definitely. I believe that those smaller elections are just as important as the big election, the presidential election. And so, yes, we do plan to continue to develop this program,
Okay, good.
incorporate it into the Student Government Association to continue on for years.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, that's it. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
Looks like a very good effort by the student body to get the voters out to vote.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for having us today.
Next item is a downtown west update.
Good evening, board members. I wanted to come tonight and give a presentation. I'm going to be joined with Greg Cladar. He's the Vice President of Pre-Construction at Ringland Johnson. And we also have Dominic DeMonica, the Principal Architect on the project, available also. What we wanted to talk about tonight was the 2-building versus 1-building design. As you know, back in last month's Committee of the Whole, we had brought up discussions about the need to do a 2-building design versus a 1-building design due to potential cost issues and some timeline issues. We have since gone back and gotten actual numbers that I'll have Greg talk to about with the utilities and talk a little bit more about the timeline issues. Understand that we have had careful deliberation about the costs associated with the project, particularly as it relates to the 1-building versus 2-building design, and why we are moving forward with a 2-building design and simply vacating Rockton Road from vehicular traffic, but not necessarily from the utilities. The goal of this recommendation is to meet budgeting guidelines, as a single building design will increase costs and increase the timeline. So one of the areas that I will have Greg speak to is the utility costs between the two options.
With a single building design, it's essential that the buildings straddle both sides of Rockton Avenue to get all the adjacencies and the parking and everything there. The biggest item on that is a 24-inch water line with the city of Rockford that services most of downtown, both east and west side of the river. Can everybody hear me? We have been in communication with the city, and just as one utility, they gave us a letter that said it between $2 million and $2.5 million to relocate that line and the associated work that would go with it. In addition, there's sanitary sewer in Rockton Avenue, probably NICOR, that's the one we haven't identified, ComEd, AT&T, and some other utilities, fiber we've got to look into. So there's a lot of utilities there, and considering the water is already 2 to 2.5, we're estimating that all the utilities to move would be about $4 million. And because of the way the utilities need to be moved before we start moving dirt, so that all has to be done. We were involved with the Charles Street work at Swedes, and that was a 17-month process to get that going. Current design by DKA, you know, with Rockton kind of maintaining its the easements in the two buildings, we're able to proceed with buildings on both the east and west side of Rockton Avenue and not slow down, and we can then work with the utilities to get those moved while we're under construction with the building. Delaying it would delay the project about a year, which with an extra years of inflation is probably a 7-figure cost to the project, depending upon inflation. So, any questions? Mr. Skorsky?
The project's already costing more money than some of us already expected. I'm not worried about the extra money. I'm more worried about the timeline, because we chose a date to exit, you know, automotive from one location, kind of hemming us in on the schedule. So I really don't think there's much debate. You got to go with the two building thing to keep the project on schedule so we can move in. So
Thank you.
Trustee Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question has to do with the discussion that I don't believe the board ever really had about why we are putting automotive downtown. And now it turns out that we have to have two buildings, yet one of the sales points of putting automotive downtown that I remember was that we would have it all in one building. Now we can't have one building. And so I guess I'm curious why we wouldn't put automotive back next to the ATC Center, since we're going to build a new building anyway. The other problem that I see, and we didn't get much, at least as far as I know, the board did not get a lot of information about the efficacy of having a relatively small presence of automotive downtown, whereas we have 9 acres out by the ATC. And it may behoove the board, at least, and the college, and I believe it's a matter of board policy, to consider other options that may be able to comport with the timeline. And so I'm getting to the question, which is, has the staff that you know of had these discussed the matters I just raised with you as the construction engineer or construction manager, excuse me, or are we just proceeding, you know, because the railroad has gotten some inertia and we're up against deadlines and that kind of thing. In other words, are there any alternatives that have been discussed? Are there any alternatives? And have all the alternatives been considered? I don't see anything in these reports, and rarely do, where the board is able to say, that's a good alternative, or that's not a good alternative, or you know, and the board, again, last I checked, sets policy. So that's my question.
In terms of the program, no. We've been informed of the program, and our role as the construction manager is to support the team, and from a planning standpoint, from a cost standpoint, and really become the advocate for the college during the construction of the building. But in terms of the program, we are leaving that up to the college and trying to find the most cost-effective ways to meet those. I mean, this process, I mean, I'm speaking with Dominic's people almost every day talking about the project. Everyone's very, not concerned with the cost, but very much knowing the importance of bringing the project in on budget and getting the highest value that we can for the college. So there are a lot of alternatives. They're being developed right now by the designers, and when we get to that point, they'll be brought. Right now, my understanding is they're really looking for direction to move forward with this, and considering the timing and the cost, and also just the way the site, the dropping of the site and the change of grade in the sites, the designers have done a great job in minimizing that cost impact and kind of making it fit how the land, it slopes off to the west at about 2 degrees, and they've got that to where really they minimize the amount of dirt and fill that we need for the project. So I'm excited about their design. I think it's going to be very cost effective, and we're working towards that right now, but they need some clear direction on where to go is what I understand.
Just a short follow-up. So do I gather from what you say that you are focusing in on this particular project without looking broadly at any possible alternatives that might now be considered either cheaper or better or anything else. Is that a fair statement?
From a construction standpoint, I think it's a fair statement. We're looking at within our limit as a construction manager. Looking at college decisions, no, we're not looking at those. I don't think that's our role in terms of a program standpoint.
Thank you.
Okay, it seems to me, in concluding this conversation, it seems to me we've been talking quite a long time about the automotive downtown. We bought the land downtown. One building, two building, it's pretty obvious that one building would be way more expensive and it would screw up extend the timeline. So I think, you know, from where I sit, I think we got to keep moving forward as you're presenting the two building approach downtown.
Yeah, the goal here is to build the campus downtown and to do it in the most cost-effective manner.
Right, because we
In
don't want to
order-
have that budget of 52 go to 56 or 58 either.
Well, that is true, and we'd actually like it to be less than 52.
Right, well, that's what
And-
that's the goal.
That's my goal. And in doing a side-by-side comparison, and although we are building two buildings, it's still one campus. It's
Right.
one construction area.
Right.
It's not like we're building one here and then have to
Right.
mobilize
Right.
13 miles away. So it's one mobilization. Yes, it's two buildings, but it's one construction site. And the best estimates that we have right now is that a single building design would add 1 year, which creates issues, and increases the cost by about $3.3 million,
Understood.
which is why the administration is recommending we move forward with the two building design on that site.
Right, thank you. Dr. Spearman?
Yeah, so at this point, we wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page regarding two-building design. And then our goal is that we'll come back, the July 9th committee, the whole, what we feel would be more of a final rendition of the two-building design that the board will be able to review, and we'll be to discuss the details with you at that time.
Paul?
Correct.
If any board member has any doubts, moving utilities is going to extend it at least that year, if not longer, given similar projects that I've seen in Rockford. Like you said, you worked at the Swedes one. Then there was one just finished 9 months ago or something. It was like 7 months over because they couldn't get all the utility companies in there to do the work and stuff like that. So it's John and I share a similar concern about the size of the automotive program being restricted downtown. I was hoping it would be larger with more tech and stuff like that to pump more students through it. But we've talked about it, and even though we're not happy with some of the answers that have been presented, I think our only choice is to give the administration the go-ahead, the directive with the two-building downtown plan, so they can come back to us in July with some firmer
Okay.
ideas.
All right, thank you. Hearing no other comments, we will thank you very much for your presentation. We'll look forward to the July COW meeting, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on then,
Thank you.
teaching, learning. Ms. Simpson.
Yep, and I'm just gonna turn it right on over.
Good evening, trustees.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have an enrollment update even beyond what's in your packet tonight. As of this morning, we were 12% ahead of last year for summer 2, which puts us at 89% of budget and 89% of the stretch goal. And for fall, currently we're still 10% ahead of last year at this time, which puts us 55% to budget and 53% to the stretch goal. That's it.
You always bring in good news once the reports are made, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the Highway Construction Career Training.
Good evening, trustees. This is a renewal of the IGA for the HCCTP program. As you know, this is a highway construction careers training program. It aims to help women and underrepresented individuals gain acceptance into the construction trades. Each cohort of students, they go through for a duration of 14 weeks. They undergo 450 hours of training and preparation and apprenticeship readiness training too as well. This is funded entirely by the Illinois Department of Transportation. Trainees do not pay any tuition, and they get a stipend to support the expenses related to training. The ask this afternoon is that it's recommended that the Board of Trustees approve this IGA agreement between the Illinois Department of Transportation and RVC at a not to exceed amount of $390,419 for Rock Valley College to administer the 2024-2025 HCCTP program.
Okay, so it's basically a renewal.
Yes.
It's a renewal, so. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In examining these quite comprehensive materials, I thought I read somewhere that originally this program had 24 community colleges. It's down to 20. Is there, have we looked at, I also saw that this is, I think, our 25th year of being selected for this program. Is there some common denominator on the 4 colleges that have lost their affiliation? And are we safely within whatever goals that the IDOT wants to continue this program?
So IDOT is actually 10 community colleges, not 20, that we have, and IDOT makes that determination in terms of who gets it and who doesn't get it. As I mentioned when I did this about 2.5 years ago, that ICCB used to be in the middle of this, but IDOT has removed ICCB, so it's just an interaction between the community colleges and IDOT.
So my question really is, are we safe?
Yes, we are. Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Next.
So we will be very brief, understanding that Chair Trojan likes to have a brief meeting. But Dr. Stewart and I will speak today on artificial intelligence. The focus is narrow in scope to discuss how teaching and learning at our Rock Valley College has been impacted by artificial intelligence. As a review, artificial intelligence is the ability of computer or software program to perform tasks that would normally be completed by human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, interpreting language, things such as that. This is different from generative AI, which is used to create either creative models or original results, texts, images, photos, things like that. Examples that maybe we have all come in contact with are ChatGPT, chatbots, things like that. So at Rock Valley College, we are exploring ways, we've begun using it, but also exploring ways that it can enhance our teaching and learning. We have begun to utilize, to some form, AI in placement testing, where they can use AI to grade some of the essays that help place students in the correct classes. It also supports the generation of quiz questions in math and study guides. English faculty are currently exploring how they can weave this into their instruction by encouraging students to explore AI to inform the writing process, and then actually analyzing it after the product is created to see if it worked well or if it didn't work well, because it's always a mixed bag. Outside of the college, students also access tutoring that is supported by AI to help them with things such as Brainly is one of the different websites they can use that in addition to our college supported tutoring. The benefits realized by faculty and staff include what I think is very important: time savings. We all know how important time is. It also creates personalized content to allow for individualized learning for our students. It also can lead to more engaging instruction in the classroom, as you can use it for brainstorming and just creative content. The college is actually being proactive in the way that we are supporting our faculty and staff in trying to learn how to utilize AI in a positive fashion. So we're not only concerned about, the sky falling, whereas we are being proactive. We actually sponsored this past summer for 5 faculty and staff members to complete a course through ION, which is the University of Illinois Springfield's professional development arm. And they completed this course on AI throughout the summer. We also offered professional development, either breakout sessions and kind of a learning community where I should say like between 10 to 15 faculty came together and kind of brainstormed ideas on how they could utilize AI in their classroom and use it to augment what they're already doing. The academic integrity statement was also modified this past year as a part of academic council, so that we put it upon the instructor to define for their classes how they will or will not use AI. Some faculty want to embrace it and help students learn how to use it positively. Others are more concerned with how it may not be used positively, and so they want to make sure that that is well known to the student right from the get-go. Now I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Stewart, who will talk about some potential challenges and what we are doing to mitigate those challenges.
So as Dr. Smith mentioned, some of the positives of AI, there are also some, and there are many commendable features or aspects of it, but there are also some drawbacks of it and things we have to do to mitigate, to make sure that, we are keeping checks and balances in place. So one of the first buckets I'm going to talk about is skill degradation. We all know students must have analytical skills, computation skills for things like math, for instance. And sometimes we have seen that students have had an over-reliance on AI to solve mathematical problems, thereby not utilizing some of these critical thinking skills they are supposed to have. So one way we have tried to combat that or to mitigate against that is to make sure that opportunities are given to students within the domains of the classroom for students to practice math problems without the use of aids, to demonstrate on the board and so forth. And those things are incorporated to help. Further, in disciplines that require, for instance, critical thinking, they require compare and contrast, analytical skills, evaluatory skills, and so forth. Instructors tend to craft assignments that require students to be able to do that. Because what we know is that things that require listing and defining, the AI loves it. It's easy. But when you have to get into analysis, comparison, evaluations, and so forth, it's a little bit more challenging for AI. So instructors, again, to mitigate against that usage of AI for assignments, they have crafted assignments along those particular lines too as well, to make sure that students are not having an over-reliance on it. So what we have done is we have tried to supplement at RVC rather than think about eradicating. Because as Dr. Smith mentioned, there are a lot of pluses, a lot of advantages to AI. But if there's a heavy over-reliance on it, we can see skills degradation go through the window. The other big bucket item is academic misconduct. So that's a big concern. So what we have done is that we have tried to upgrade our academic integrity policies as much as possible, as Amanda mentioned, even to in syllabi, instructors would list out or articulate how much usage, what type of usage and stuff, so that students have parameters. We have also incorporated the use of plagiarism detection tools or software. So at RVC, we use Turnitin. Some schools use SaferSign. Some schools use Authenticate. Some schools use Grammarly. Those are examples of plagiaristic tools that are used to detect whether the work is of the student, or the student got it from some other source without being able to cite it or without citing it and so forth. And then the last bucket I want to touch on is data security. You know, again, as mentioned, with the advent of artificial intelligence, there's that risk of data being compromised and so forth. So the school emphasizes data security and privacy because it understands the importance of protecting student information. So some of the things we have engaged in is we have prioritized data encryption, for instance, access controls, and security audits to reduce the likelihood of data breaches. So sometimes you will see too as well for to sign in or your login credentials, there is verification and so forth, or two-step verifications to be able to make sure we reduce any sort of data breach. All right? So, so I think Dr. Smith and I, you know, this is an ever-evolving field, and the most we could do is try to see how we could recognize and give value and credence to the positives of artificial intelligence, but also be fully cognizant of the opportunities for over-reliance, for misconduct, and for unethical use. So what we're going to try to do is continue having that collaborative discussion with the faculty. We'll be doing that throughout the summer and even in the fall to have discussions about how do we strike the right balance between, you know, how much we use it, what we use it for, and what are some of the safeguards and the mechanisms that we use to be able to ensure unethical conduct, you know, doesn't become prevalent. All right? Thank you.
First, Trustee Nelson, then Paul.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions here. First, the software detection of plagiarism. We had an excellent seminar on AI at the last Illinois Community College Trustees Association meeting. Some excellent speakers, and I believe it was there that it was pointed out that there was a lawsuit because the plagiarism detecting software erroneously found that a student who had written her own paper had plagiarized it. And that lawsuit, of course, was successful, and I see problems with that. And of course, I don't know if they joined the software provider as a third-party defendant, but I would hate to have that kind of litigation come our way. And are you familiar with that?
I wasn't familiar with with that lawsuit, but I was familiar with the flawed, at this point, still flawed AI checkers. You can use the same essay and check it with 3 different AI checkers, and you'll get 3 different outcomes. What we're trying to do to recognize that is, at this point, we're trying to host conversations with students to help them understand what are the challenges, what are the risks, and really what is acceptable AI usage.
Well, the other thing that they talked about in the seminar, which I thought was really good, was, you know, in the mathematics end of things, you know, we've gone from slide rules to calculators to computers and now artificial intelligence, and they're all tools, and they're tools that are going to be recognized in the business world and all of those kinds of things. And I would hate to think that in our college we would be holding students back from exploring the full benefits of AI because there is no holding back these things, as history has proved. So I hope we're on top of that as well. Are we?
Yes, we are encouraging students to explore. We will continue to do so in an ethical, academically integrity, utilizing academic integrity as they explore.
Mr. Gorski had a question.
Thank you. I'm familiar with both Turnitin and Authenticate. And John, before AI, the algorithms for those were based on in back then and now. It isn't saying that it's been plagiarized. It's pointing to whether similar articles, similar content, and or whether or not it was generated through AI. A person has to decide whether or not to take action on it. So the lawsuit wasn't against the software, it was against the institution deciding to use that information erroneously. And I remember that case, and it's just like another case where my paperwork was plagiarized. X amount of content was copied into it and not properly noted, so that's technically plagiarism, and they have to come up with some type of threshold today for AI generated components, because some of it's allowed, some of it's not, especially when you're talking about if it's non-creative content and you're using it for calculations or verification or something, that's, you're generating new data, so you're not actually plagiarizing it, you're using AI. Whether or not you want a whole paper based on that, I don't know, but I'm just saying I'm familiar with those. So you say we use Turnitin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's a solid product. And Turnitin, how are they implementing AI evaluation now?
Not through Turnitin.
The
We don't-
Turnitin's not using it now, they're just using it based on their library of papers and scholarly publications. Good. And I come to this because I supported scholarly publications for 19 years at the American Dental Association, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My question would be, are you keeping in touch with other community colleges to see how they are approaching this issue? Because it's going to be continually evolving.
Right.
Yeah, and I attended at least 2 sessions and was having conversations. I think it has to be an infusion of, we have to use authentic methods of assessment to check the veracity of what is
Right.
presented to us. So when students give us work, we have to give them opportunities to demonstrate it's their own work, either by them doing it in class, in your presence, doing an oral assignment, an assignment on the board to demonstrate it's their own merit. So you have to do an infusion of both things.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions, we'll move on to quarterly strategic plan update.
Good evening.
Good
You
evening.
have to get to the slide. That's the pause. In your packet, you have a full presentation on the strategic plan update, specifically focused on Pillar 2, and I'll provide an executive summary for you. If you recall, the last 2 quarterly updates focused on Pillars 1, access, and Pillar 3, exceptional training opportunities. And tonight we'll focus on some successes within Pillar 2, exceptional educational opportunities. I've highlighted a couple successes related to each of the goals underneath this pillar. The first set of successes is related to Goal 1, to ensure high quality and relevant certificate, degree, and co-curricular programs. We have implemented several new courses and programs over the course of the last year, and a list of those programs and courses is provided to you as a resource in this packet. They include things like cybersecurity and some courses within human services and automotive technology. On the co-curricular side, I'm pleased to share with you that we've developed student learning outcomes for our student worker program. So it's important for us that our students learn outside the classroom as well as inside the classroom. All of our academic programs have learning outcomes, and we're starting to develop them for our co-curricular programs too. So students can expect to learn things like professionalism and communication through their student worker experience. The second set of successes has to do with goal number 2, which is to improve student readiness, academic success, and a sense of belonging. On slide number 5, you have a resource that outlines the Caring Campus Initiative, which will help with retention and success. Just to summarize, that initiative looks at faculty who consistently have students earning A, B, or C's in their courses, and then figuring out what those faculty are doing that are good practice that we could share and develop other faculty in. We're also in the last year of our Higher Learning Commission Assessment Academy, which helps us to ensure student success. And we've had 3 projects within that academy. One is to develop an assessment toolkit, which provides resources to faculty and staff so that they know how to conduct assessment to ensure their students are learning and how to document that assessment so we can show the Higher Learning Commission and other entities that our students are learning what we say they will. That project has also been supporting our curriculum mapping project, which takes our course outcomes and aligns them with program and institutional student learning outcomes. That should make the assessment process easier in the future for us. And finally, we've been offering professional development for faculty and staff through committee meetings, but also through workshops where they can come and learn about assessment and or actually do the work of assessment. Final success related to academic success and student belonging is the Fix Your Content workshops. And these workshops were designed for faculty and or staff to take content for their courses or other learning activities and make sure they're accessible to all students using universal design for learning. So for example, if you had a PowerPoint presentation that you've been sharing with your students, you could bring it to those workshops and someone would help you to make sure that it's accessible to all students. So those are just a few examples of the successes we've had related to exceptional educational opportunities. I do want to point out one other thing, which isn't in the summary, but you'll notice that we've made a change to Pillar 4, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, to add language around accessibility. This doesn't really change the spirit of this pillar, but we wanted to call out accessibility, and Keith will be talking more about that when he talks about his equity plan later tonight. Are there any questions?
I have one. Where will the EV courses be taught?
At the automotive location downtown when it's developed, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No other comments? We'll move on to Downtown West Adult. Sorry?
She said thank
I just said, good job, thank you.
Sorry.
I forgot I'm not the chair.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you very much for providing me the opportunity to discuss some of the planning or the foundation of thought behind some of the planning for Downtown West. At the State of the College or our Board of Trustees retreat in January, we had mentioned that adults 25 years of age and older have a lower educational attainment in our district than others in the state and nationally. And as more and more jobs are requiring some level of post-secondary education, there really is an opportunity here for Rock Valley College for increasing enrollment. Likewise, the population of the ages of 25 to 49 are projected to grow by 18% from 22 to 28. That's another opportunity. Both of these pieces have informed the decision, the opportunities that we're highlighting for Downtown West. We've previously discussed some of the technical programs such as automotive, e-vehicles, collision repair, and others. So tonight I'm excited to share a bit about adult education, refugee and immigrant services, and early childhood education. I wanted to note that altogether, a whopping 2,523 adults have been or will have been served in this fiscal year alone in these three programs, which is a great opportunity. Adult education is the first thing that we would talk about, and that is near and dear to my heart. We do have with us today a director, Tricia Wagner, so I do want to give a quick shout out for the great work that they do in adult ed. The purpose of adult education is to support adults who are seeking to improve their basic skills, such as reading and math computations, earn their high school equivalency or diploma, or improve their English language skills. We offer classes all the way from like the 4th grade reading level up through the GED. Locally, we offer the GED. And beginning literacy to academic preparation in the English language. In our English language acquisition program, which used to be called ESL, we represent 51 countries and 49 languages, so that's pretty exciting. We prioritize the target populations who are historically underserved, such as those in a long-term unemployment, low income, returning citizens, individuals with disabilities, refugees, foster care youth who may have aged out of the foster care system, and on. The focus for all of our programming is to help our students transition, whether that's employment or to further education and training. One of the programs that we offer also is Integrated Education and Training, or ICAPS. It's a unique opportunity that kind of mirrors dual credit for high school, and that students who are currently enrolled in adult education programming can co-enroll in non-credit or credit programming leading to a certificate. This year we focused on fundamentals of mechatronics and CNA. Next year we're excited, we're looking to add CNC programming, which can be offered at RVC, at the ATC, as well as in collaboration with our current CNC programming that we offer at the Winnebago County Jail, as we offer GED classes there as well. The program is very healthy enrollment. We normally count on around 1,000 students every year. Now I'm going to switch gears to Refugee and Immigrant Services, and Dr. Spearman, if I'm taking too long, just tell me to move it along. But Refugee and Immigrant Services kind of is comprised of 3 parts: Refugee Social Services, New Americans Initiative, and the Illinois Immigrant Welcoming Center. So Refugee Social Services provides assistance to newly arrived refugees, asylees, special immigrant visas, and other categories such as the Ukrainians and the Afghans, all within their first 5 years here in the country. This program provides case management, employment services, goal setting, budgeting, referrals, and client support. We also have a special portion of that targets older refugees, so those who are 60 years of age and older, in which we're able to also provide early citizenship classes. The goal of this whole program is to help refugees who are new to the country to become self-sufficient and successful members of our community. We've had this program since 1978, still growing strong. The New Americans Initiative is switching gears a little bit, provides those who are applying for citizenship, as well as DACA renewals, and child citizenship certificates. It provides free assistance with the application completions, as well as citizenship classes to assist those that are getting ready for their interviews. So we're recognized by the Department of Justice, and we have 2 recognized staff. This program has been around at the college since 1996. And the last portion of that is our newer program. It's the Illinois Immigrant Welcoming Center. This is one of 40 locations in the state to assist those who have low English proficiency. The other community colleges don't have it, so it's pretty exciting for us to be able to offer this with a wide variety of services, including crisis intervention, workshops, case management, referrals, employment, immigration, and eligibility. The difference with this is you do not have to be a refugee or a asylee, but rather it's open for anyone with any immigrant status, and we're in our 4th year of this funding. So by the end of this year, we anticipate that we will have served a total of 1,510 participants. Lastly, I wanted to talk briefly about the early childhood education. And this, we offer a 2-year program in early childhood education here at the college. We provide students with a strong foundation in early childhood learning, so they are prepared to enter the workforce in many different settings, such as home-based care, child care centers, preschools, after-school care, many things. Students complete coursework both in the classroom and in field work and practicums. We offer 3 levels of education here. The Early Childhood Educator Assistant Certificate is 19 credits. The Early Childhood Educator Certificate is 28 credits. And then, of course, we have the AAS, or the Associates in Applied Science. They're all stackable. So if a student starts in one, they can just keep going as they are also earning their own living wage. So they are also aligned with Illinois Gateways to Opportunities, which is the industry credential. So that is very exciting that we're able to encourage our students to gain those industry credentials at the same time. What's new is we are seeking to include an early childhood education learning lab at Downtown West, which will be a learning environment that will allow students to complete their field experiences and practicum on site. So students will engage in activities with children, all the while being supervised by our amazing faculty that are highly qualified, and they'll be modeled in early childhood programs. So we're very excited to be able to offer that to our community. The state has invested a lot of funding in supporting incumbent workers in the early childhood field, and we've had the opportunity to grow our program and design new models that will make it easier and more accessible for workers in the field to be able to continue upskilling and enroll in our classes. We anticipate continued growth as we assist students that have started in the program and will continue on. I hope that all of this shows that we see a lot of opportunities available through the co-location of these programs, is they can co-enroll in each other's programming, and we can also help our completers from refugee and adult education transition to other credit and non-credit programs.
Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How do you know how many classrooms or how many square feet these programs will occupy in the new new RVC campus downtown?
I can tell you that I am a bit challenged with square footage, but I do know that for the majority, like we do have one space that is for the early childhood education center, so that is more unique. But many of the other classrooms, we are doing a flex model so that it can be used by many different programs, so that way with some strategic scheduling, we'll be able to use the classes. So it's kind of hard to say, well, this room is dedicated only to adult ed, or this room's dedicated only to refugee. So we're making sure that we have optimal use.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Padilla and then Mr. Degorski.
Yeah, earlier in the executive summary, you quoted a number, and I can't remember what it was. It was like 2,000 something, and that was, you said, of course, we're prioritizing adult learners, and we will have served, did I hear you say 2,000 something?
Yes, 2,523 adults.
523. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gorski.
And hence my question, and don't read anything into each of the questions as I'm asking, don't use any AI on it. We offer courses or programs, let's say programs, for credit and non-credit, correct? Are there any other categories other than credit and non-credit?
There are always more categories, but I was speaking to.
No, I'm tying in both the reports. I just overall as a college, we offer programming that gives a credit that's recognized by something, and then stuff that's non-credit, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Within the credit, we have credit programs that lead to degrees and credit programs that lead to certificates.
Correct.
Okay. Now in the non-credit, it's how do those numbers fit into enrollment numbers and the like? Like right now I'm looking at the refugee and immigrant services. I'm guessing none of those are credit. Those are programs that we offer to benefit residents in the community. Correct?
Correct-ish, yes.
Okay.
And so what we are looking to do is, through having the co-location, transfer or transition some of those that are currently refugee to adult ed and then to credit and non-credit
Right.
programming. So it'll be a smooth transition.
And my question kind of dovetails on what Trustee Kadia was mentioning. I heard the number 2,000 that, kind of touches out there, people program, that I'm looking at the unduplicated headcount and in enrollment, and what kind of overlap is there between those two, or are those two separate numbers? So we're talking 20, I'll just use 25 and 25, so 5,000 total. I'm looking like unduplicated headcount for all the programs, credit and non-credit, and I'm not looking for it tonight. I'll send it to you
Okay.
as a note. Yeah, I just want to know all the people kind of going through our institution, getting credit and non-credit. Because I see here numbers and somebody says, well, we have this enrollment, but then when I hear the number about these other programs where we have almost an equal or more, or larger amount of people being processed through that, which is all a plus. It's just for people like us that don't live it day to day. We're in it 2 times a month, or maybe not even that often. And I don't want to be knocking on your door asking all the time. I just want to have just a general feel for it. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll send my questions to President Spearman, and he'll forward it to the appropriate people. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Spearman?
Did you mention the overlap regarding adult education credits on enrollment? Because he was sort of asking credit and non-credit, but there is a little space where there's...
Adult education actually is the one thing that kind of makes things confused when we talk about our enrollment report that we look at monthly and the AI reports. A1, not AI. Right? The A1 reports. It is accounted in an A1 report. It's not accounted for what we go over every month when we say these are our latest enrollment numbers.
Okay.
Thank you all
So we
very
just got a
much.
new catalog for continuing education. Those are non-credit courses.
Correct.
They lead to nothing other than completing a course, right?
They lead to personal enrichment.
Well, yes, I know, but it's
Well,
not,
but-
but it's not.
But
it's
that's where I
non-credit.
was going, Bob.
Correct.
See, that's another component that
Yeah.
hasn't been touched on here
Right.
tonight. We have one report, another report,
Right,
and what you
right.
just brought up here. And that was what I was going to send to President Spearman. I just want to kind of know head count for, all the different things that we do, because you do a lot of good work, but in different areas.
Yes.
And then you have CLR.
Correct, yes.
Right.
And that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we are breaking down non-credit a little differently to try to track and target certain areas of non-credit, but you're right. There's
Right.
different pockets of non-credit, credentialing, as well as just skills enhancement, personal development, all of that is part of it.
Thank
And
you
I
for
just
letting
don't
us
want
do
to
that
get
work.
lost.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
will thank you all from the teaching and learning group for your presentations. Very good. We'll now move on to the finance discussion. Trustee Gorski.
There is nothing to report on finance. Let's move to operations. No, well, hand this up. You like that? Wait till I get some of my questions. I told you to get a heads up on. So I'll hand this off to Ellen, but I already gave her a heads up to some things that to be ready for some questions on, because I think it's worthwhile for all of us to hear some of them. Thank you.
All right. So first we have Purchase Report A, which is FY24 amendments. And first we have a Verizon wireless increase of $1,000 to a not exceed amount of $41,000. This increase is being requested due to additional costs associated with the college's Verizon account and cell phones and hotspots. We did have 7 new cell phones that were added to the campus police in response to contractual obligations under the FOP CBA negotiated earlier in FY24. So that is the reason for that increase. Next item is Enterprise Rent-A-Car Midwest, an increase of $5,000, a not to exceed total of $30,000. This is for vehicle rentals for the athletic team travel. The charter bus companies have not always been able to accommodate their travel due to weather or other reasons, and so they have been using Enterprise as an alternative more often than anticipated. So we've had less bus expense in some cases and more rent-a-car. The next item is Modern Campus, an increase of $2,000 for a not to exceed of $32,675. Our marketing department has identified some accessibility issues within our college's website, and the changes to correct these issues are outside of the scope of the existing contract. So this increase will facilitate developer hours to correct the accessibility issues. Item D is for American Express, an increase of $100,000 for a not to exceed of $1 million. This expense is for increased miscellaneous commodities and travel through the college's procurement card or P-card program. We have seen an increase in travel, which includes ground and air transportation, hotels, point of sale for meals. March and November in particular saw an 83% increase to the average spend, predominantly due to travel during the year. And item E is Ullman, Ernest, and Martin Architects, an increase of $2,366.12, bringing that total to $146,741.12. The increase is for reimbursables associated with the ATC Phase 2 project that were not included in the original request. Are there any questions regarding this purchase report?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nelson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Did I understand you right that C has to do with an additional 2,000 to help handicap accessibility?
To improve the accessibility, there were some issues, additional issues identified, and we need to correct those.
Okay.
Digital?
And,
Digital accessibility.
well, but, well, if I might ask, what is Modern Campus do? What is it?
I'm going to ask Heather to explain Modern Campus and their role.
They're the host for our website. So we originally had contracted with them to redesign our website.
Okay.
There were some updates done by Modern Campus and I believe Google at the same time that are incompatible, and now we need to make some corrections.
Of course they are. If it would be possible, Ellen, and I don't know if this should be directed towards the new czar of finance, Mr. Gorski, or our esteemed chairman, but I see here original approved amount, and then I see an amount. Would it be possible to add to that, like when the meeting was that we approved that? Or did we approve it in the budget, or originally approved amount? I don't get it.
For all of them?
Yeah.
So these were all originally approved amounts that came to you in a purchase report previously.
Yeah,
So you're just asking for us-
I bet they did, and my question is, so when was that? For example, wasn't one of these like $1,000 for $41,000?
So that one would have come to you initially in June of 2023 for fiscal year '24.
Okay. Well, I would like to know that, and I'll refer that then to Mr. Gorski.
And I'll address that. It's specifically about Modern Campus, the change amount of 2,000 not to exceed 32. You'll note there that it was a budgeted expense, which would have been previous cycle, and then it refers to the board report where we would have seen it and later voted on it then.
I see that, but
So what will that information give us?
well, I'd like to know the date that we approved it. That's what I'd like to know.
I'll show you how to search for the board report.
Thanks. Yeah. with
You asked
my
the
spare
czar.
time. Thanks. Thank you, Ellen.
Okay.
Okay.
So our next purchase report is purchase report B. There is one item on that, and that is for Axum Enterprises. This expense is for the complete camera system and software for the Rock Valley College Police Department. RFP 24-10, body worn and in-vehicle camera system, software integration and services was released to meet the state mandate that will be effective January 1st, requiring law enforcement officers to wear body-worn cameras while on duty. The cost of $159,641.69 is the total cost for the 5 years, and that base price includes Axon Body 4 cameras, Axon Fleet 3 systems, Axon Evidence License, Axon Redaction Assistance, Axon Signal Unit Response Plus, and Axon Single Sidearm Docking Station Storage, Licenses, Deployment, Training, and Customer Support. This system will be hosted in the cloud and requires no additional integration to other systems since the body-worn camera and in-system vehicle camera systems are being purchased from the same vendor. Are there any additional questions?
Trustee Gorski.
Yes, so that price includes storage for 5 years.
Yes, that is the price for 5 years.
Okay, I find that really hard to believe. Do you expect to be copying that data to any other systems or anything like that? Nope, it's going to stay up there. Having managed 2 of these systems before, people copy the data elsewhere. Then you wind up having terabytes of stuff in the cloud and terabytes worth of stuff on local drives and servers. Just giving you a heads up. Also, who was the previous vendor for your squad?
ICOP?
Okay. Wow. I'm just surprised not to see Motorola having not responded to this, because Motorola and Axon are like the, you know, the 2 big guns in it, so. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't respond to it. But no, that's a good price. That includes the, so that's the service and support and the storage for the 5 years. And then is there any extension after 5 years for support and service, or are they recommending that you turn over the equipment and get new equipment? Do you know?
I have not seen, the contract has not been finalized at this
Okay.
time. I've only seen the vendor presentation.
Yeah, because the contracts for these usually have a 3-year and then extend, or a 4 to 5, and then they recommend that you get new equipment. And is there any extra spare equipment as part of the contract? Okay.
Okay.
The reason I bring this up, board members, is that we recently went through this in Lee County, and I've been involved with it previously. The initial cost is really good, but then we find out there are other costs down the road that he hadn't really planned on. So I'm just making sure we're all covered here. So, all right, thank you.
Okay. All right, move on.
Next item, our next report is Purchase Report C. Yes, we do have FY25 purchases to put before you tonight. The first one is for KK Stevens for $80,604.65. This was bid 24-14, printing and mailing of non-credit catalogs. This is for the printing of 3 editions for each fiscal year to run in the fall, spring, and summer. And this is the first of a 3-year contract. The next item B is for Gerber Tours, a not to exceed of $43,000. This is for the Trio Upward Bound and Trio SSS to this 2024 summer trip to New Orleans between July 24th and 27th. Items C, D, E, F, and G are all Starlight Theater productions that are being included in this purchase report, since potentially the amount being paid to any one vendor could exceed the $25,000 threshold under the purchase policy. So these are for the summer 2025 productions.
For next year.
And the last item is for Aleutian for $1,262,791 for fiscal year 2025. And this is for the campus-wide administrative enterprise resource planning ERP system. For those who are not familiar with Colleague, this is the system that we use to carry out day-to-day operations, and it integrates between registration, student services, financial aid, human resources, financial services, and others. Currently, our system is housed in a Unidata database, which is being phased out, and we are told will be unsupported in a matter of years. as an ERP system, so we are looking to migrate to a cloud-based system, which is colleagues SaaS. And so this will cover, what we are laying out before you is the cost over the next 5 years. The first 2 years are higher because essentially we will be paying for 2 systems during the migration, plus services.
Okay, no questions. We'll move on to the cash and investment report.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Mr. John?
Thank you. I see that we're going to New Orleans, July 24th through the 27th. And since I went to law school there, I can tell you it's going to be hot, 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 and humid. But they'll be part of the experience, I guess.
Yes, I don't know why those particular dates.
Well, it's the summer. I mean,
Summer program.
Yeah.
New Orleans is a wonderful city. No question about it. I mentioned last year that I'd be willing to spend more money if we needed to get, I don't want to say better shows, but that's certainly my thought if our director is interested. Finally, in purchase report CH, were there any alternatives examined in terms of that might work for the college, number one, and number two, did I understand you, and did this read right, that these bills would be adjusted?
No, these are the expenses for the next 5 years.
Okay. And
But right now, we're just asking you to approve the 1.2 million, the million.
Are there any
262.
other vendors or alternatives that are available? And because even by our budget, this is a fairly substantial amount of money.
I'm going to let Chief Operating Officer Rick Jenks answer that.
Well, that hot potato goes to you, sir.
So as far as Aleutian is concerned, Aleutian has been our ERP for many years and is integrated with many systems throughout the college. So changing that would be very difficult and very costly and would take multiple years to accomplish. And I think everybody on the campus would be greatly displaced by this because of the fact that we've had this system for 20 years.
I have a small manufacturing business, and we use systems too, and we don't want to change ours either for the very reason. I wouldn't comprehend how you would convert to a different system.
It would be very complicated, and very pricey.
Trustee Gorski.
I think you're both simplifying the situation too much in that moving to the cloud-based system is going to be a pain it's going to be painful in the first place. It's going to be substantially different than the other one. But if you move to a completely different vendor, you're going to have a much higher deployment time, much higher uptake, upfront cost. You might be able to save money on an annual basis after it, but having gone through server-based, on-prem to cloud-based migrations for a number of different systems, that one-time development costs and support costs and integration costs, especially, how many different systems is this integrated with? Just a ballpark.
15.
15. So you're looking at least minimum $25,000 to $50,000 for each integration, just as a one-time development cost, if not more, if you had to go to a completely different vendor. So your one-time cost would be more like Well, like the cost of going from a one building to a two building, you know, type of difference. It would be really high, John, and you'd be choking on the one-time cost, and you might be able to save 5 to 10% annually, and that's it. So,
With no guaranteed satisfaction.
Yeah.
right.
You're right. I'd hate to think about making a change like that. Okay, anything else? If not, we'll move on to the investment report.
Well, the next report, I just wanted to say, is in your packet. It is quarterly purchase activity. When we changed or updated our purchase policy, the board asked for a quarterly report of items of $10,000 to $25,000. And so they are included on this report for your reference. And we can move to the cash and investment report. On the cash and investment report for April, the operating cash and investments decreased $503,147 in April to a balance of $86.3 million as of April 30th, 2024. There was no unusual activity to report during the month. Capital funds decreased $19,193 in April to $12.1 million. This is the result of a bond payment made April 1st, offset by interest income. Are there any questions?
Nope. Are we in good shape?
We are still in good shape.
We're in good shape.
If there's no other questions, we'll move on to the third quarter vital signs. So revenues for the operating funds, Funds 1 and 2, is at 80.36% of budget, excluding SERS on behalf. Local government is at 56%. That is because we have not received local property tax revenue yet for this year. So that'll start coming in the latter part of May and in June. State government is at 86% as the college continues to receive state funds. Student tuition and fees is at 103% due to exceeding the budget goal of 110,000 credit hours for fiscal year 24, and all other revenue lines appear to be in line. Expenses for operating funds is at 64.72% of budget, excluding SERS on behalf. Salaries, employee benefits, contractual services, and fixed charges all are where we would expect them at this time of year. Other lines such as travel and conference meeting expense will increase in the final quarter of this fiscal year as more conferences are held in late spring. If we go to the Fund 5 auxiliary, there we go. Revenues are at 76% of budget, excluding SERS on behalf. Expenses are at 70% of budget, excluding SERS on behalf. And just as a reminder, auxiliary includes athletics, theater, community, and continuing ed, CLR, and a few other non-credit programs. If we go to FY24 payroll year to date, this represents the payroll for all funds for RVC, so it includes grants in Fund 6. Total payroll is running 8% below budget. Payroll by month. So as I mentioned last quarter, payroll expense going forward will look very choppy month to month. The college moved, if you recall, this fall to paying all employees with the exception of faculty in arrears. And if you are not familiar with what arrears is, it is when an employee is paid on May 15th. They are actually paid for actual time worked from April 24th through May 8th. And the reason we do this is because payroll is actually run in advance of May 15th, so that direct deposits are in the employee accounts on May 15th as they expect it. So for those occasions when employees should leave employment between the end of their pay cycle and the pay date, we do not have to deal with inadvertently overpaying the employee because we did not know they were leaving the college. So an example would be for the May 31st pay date, that cycle ended May 25th, so we accrued for days worked between, for the March 31st pay date ending March 25th, the college accrued for days worked between March 26th and March 31st. Also, I want to point out both March and December had this accrual adjustment, but we also paid out faculty overload, independent study, and other faculty stipends during that same month. If we go to healthcare cost year-to-date, healthcare costs are running below budget year-to-date. The insurance renewal was January 1st, so we'll see that maybe close a little bit depending on claims in the final quarter of the fiscal year. And if we go to year-to-date cost average per participating employee, that is remaining, it's at $1,843 per employee, and it continues to be relatively flat for fiscal year '24. Are there any questions on the vital signs?
Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ellen, I see we're below budget on the health care costs, but how do we stand, and what's our future with health care costs?
As far as healthcare cost, I suspect, I don't know exactly what the future is, but healthcare costs will continue to increase. Part of it is due to the fact that our employees here at the college, we tend to be older and and with that age, we have a little bit more expense as far as prescriptions and services needed medically. So, and in general, healthcare costs have increased across the board due to inflation and other charges.
Are we saving any money with our on campus
RVC Care.
clinic?
RVC Care.
We are saving money because when employees utilize the RVC Care Clinic, it reduces our insurance cost. However, I do continue and want to really encourage our RVC employees to use the RVC Clinic because that'll help reduce expenses further.
Mr. Gorski had a question?
Yeah, well, statement and a question. So, healthcare costs are going to go up, okay? Now, what might be constructive would be to take a look at historically where we've been at certain months out of the year in terms of up and down in costs, because I'm guessing going into the fall and into the winter, costs might go up depending on seasonal illnesses and stuff like that. But I'm just speculating without actually knowing what our typical cycle is.
There's some of that, and then there are some instances where people or family members who are also enrolled in the plan with them will have, I'm going to call it catastrophic
illness, right.
Issues with cancer or
Right.
other medical issues, and that'll drive up cost as well.
Okay.
Ms. Gudea.
I just refreshed my memory. RVC Care, is that kind of like a wellness program?
RVC Care is actually a clinic operated by OSF,
Okay.
and it has a physician assistant in it, so they can take care of sore throats, they can give vaccinations, they can do referrals. So anything like that, they can take care of there, just like if you were to go to your regular doctor for the most part,
Okay,
or urgent
so
care.
that means we do not have a wellness program, anti-sickness program or anything?
We have wellness initiatives that I think we can say, and then we have other wellness opportunities through the Gallagher insurance options as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Gorski.
Right. Typical, I think, and maybe this is what you're thinking about, Gloria. A wellness program might have like a checkup that includes a blood pressure check and maybe just a blood sugar check or something like that, and your weight and get your weight mass, and just kind of to give you some general guidance and maybe a referral for something else on a purely voluntary basis. Now, some organizations, companies try to drive that up because the more that their employees participate in a program like that and they collect the data, it can affect your overall insurance
Right,
rate
of
too.
course.
Yeah, drive them down. So
Yeah,
And we
so
do have that.
We do offer that.
Right.
When employees have the opportunity to do a biometric
biometrics.
Yes.
check with through the RVC clinic. If they do that, they can also qualify for some, depending on what CBA they're in and what plans, a reduced cost for their insurance. So we do encourage that.
Okay. Okay, all set now? Ready to go to the next item?
All right, last
Bonding.
item under finance, bonding overview. So right here, I want to just remind you all of the capital construction projects that we've all agreed to at the moment and are underway. So for CL2, we have estimated cost of $38,700. HSC third floor build out and elevator of the $3,249,000, and downtown West projected right now at $52 million for a total cost of $93,949,000. So right now, just keep it there for a minute, Betsy. Our total bonding amount that we are looking at is $69,070,083, roughly. Now you go to the next one. So at this time, we are looking at doing a $14.7 million working cash bond proceed in December of 2024 for Classroom Building 2 project. Then we are projecting a $40.25 million debt certificate proceeds that we would receive in April of 2025 and subsequent bonding in August of 2025 for the downtown project and anything else and the remainder of Classroom 2 project. Then lastly, a $14.25 million debt certificate proceeds in April of 2026 with subsequent funding for bonds in August of 2026. And before we go any further, I'm just going to explain arbitrage and rebate so you're aware of it. So what is arbitrage? And that is the difference between the interest that would have been earned on the tax-exempt bond proceeds were invested at a bond yield and the earnings on the investments that we put the tax-exempt bond proceeds in, which is higher yielding securities. So a simple example I can think of, and some of us may have done this in the past when interest rates are moving up and down, you have a mortgage loan and it's at 3.25%, but CD rates are at 5%. You have an extra $5,000. Are you going to pay down your mortgage, or are you going to earn an extra couple percentage by putting it in the CD? That's arbitrage. So what is the rebate? Well, if we have arbitrage, we have to pay it to the federal government. So we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at it. Are there exceptions to the rebate? Yes, there are. There is a small issuer exception and spend down exceptions. So the U.S. tax code prohibits positive arbitrage on most cases on investment bond proceeds, but there is a small issuer exemption for community colleges. Issues less than $15 million in tax-exempt bonds in a calendar year. So that is why you are seeing us focusing on amounts lower than $15 million for the first bond issuance and the third bond issuance, because we would expect to fully spend the one in the middle. There is also a spend down exception, which is a reward for spending bond proceeds quickly. In that case, we are allowed to keep the positive arbitrage, but as you can see, we have to meet each spending benchmark, and there is no catch-up allowed. So there is a 6-month, 18-month, and a 2-year one. I've put together an estimated cash outflow projection based on the first 3 columns are our 3 projects coming to a total, and then I have RVC external funding, and that does exclude the CBD $17 million because that project will all be handled by them. And then I put in our projected bonding just so you can kind of see what the cumulative net position would be. And this is just so that you're aware of what we're looking at right now for a cash flow basis. Go to the next screen. So some things that we have to keep in mind when we're thinking about this is, I have asked, well, tonight they heard about it again. They're going to provide an estimated monthly drawdown schedule for the downtown project. That will help us determine exactly when debt certificates to funding bonds should be issued and how frequently we do need to issue those, and how much should be issued with each sale. And then with that, we will look at subsequent financing strategies that will further define what we're going to do and manage arbitrage rate. So your goal here is to maximize interest earnings on debt certificate proceeds and minimize our borrowing cost. So a suggested timeline tonight, and it is subject to change, for the Series 2024 working cash bonds. You see the TBD for the presentation to the Committee of the Whole in September. We would ask the board to adopt the resolution. At the end of September, we would publish that legal notice. October, we would hold a BINA hearing at a regular meeting, which is a Bond Issued Notification Act hearing. In November, we would approve the parameters of the resolution authorizing the sale of the working cash bonds. December, the bonds would be sold, and about mid-December, we would receive the bond proceeds. I will tell you on this particular one, we are kind of trying to decide if we want to move it earlier. As we all know, 2024 is an election year, so we're kind of trying to figure out what might happen with rates with that. And also, the Federal Reserve is also positioning themselves to reduce rates.
Reduce, increase.
I heard they were reducing.
Really?
Yeah. So he hears increase, I hear reduce. I don't have a crystal ball, so we're gonna talk it through and come up with our best ideas. So on the next screen is a preliminary timeline for debt to certificates to funding for the 2025. Again, in February of 25, we'd ask the board to adopt the parameters of resolution for sale. Mid-March, debt certificates would be sold. Late April, debt certificates closed, and we would receive the proceeds. May, we would adopt a resolution of intent for calling for bond, the BINA hearing, legal notice. June, we'd hold a BINA hearing and also have a 30-day petition period for the funding bonds, which is required. The board then would approve the parameters in July. Late July, the funding bonds would be sold, and in mid-August, the funding bonds would close and the debt certificates would be paid off. So one thing I'm going to give you a heads up on, we will be coming to you for reimbursement resolutions. If you recall, in November, we came to you with a reimbursement resolution for $2 million for Downtown West. Depending on the cash flow projection and the timing of the bond sale, we may be coming for a new or amended resolution to increase that reimbursement resolution for Downtown West based on projected outlay. Also, we are looking at a board resolution for reimbursement of the amount required to fund the CDB escrow trust. CDB requires us to fund, and it's looking like they're going to ask us to fund that trust in possibly September. So then we will be asking the board to pass a resolution allowing us to refund the college that money from the bond issuance that is scheduled at the end of the year. Yes.
Just to recap, you're going to be asking for more money up front until for working cash, until we get the actual working cash bond in, and then you're going to have a resolution to pay back the money that we just you asked for. Right?
Kind of, sort of. So
yeah,
it works. As you know, I have liquidity out there. So what we would do is issue I would pay the CDB, pass the money to the CDB trust, and then upon issuance of those working cash bonds, we'd pay back the college for what we provided to that trust account.
And this would to keep the project moving along, given the guidance that I think we're giving the administration of a two-building project. It's one of the projects down here that we're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Mr. Nelson.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, real quick. In terms of the financing, and maybe it's to you, do we have any questions? Are you asking for, no, President Spearman, are you looking for guidance on any of the other projects? Are we good on the other projects?
I believe we're good on the other projects. They've all
Okay.
been presented, so there shouldn't be any surprises to the board for any
Okay,
other
very good,
projects.
thanks. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I was interested in bonding, I would have studied to become a bond counsel, because they make a lot of money. But what is a debt certificate, and what's its purpose?
So for a community college to do debt bonds, we are required by statute to first incur debt, and the only way we can incur debt is to issue a debt certificate, which is kind of for ease, a loan. So we would be entering in probably with a financial institution or whoever. We would shop it around, and whoever would like to loan me $41 million then we would take out the debt certificate with them, and then we can go out for bonding to pay off that debt certificate. Debt certificates, if we do not go for bonding, repayment of the debt certificate comes out of our operating funds and not through tax levy.
Okay. Any other questions? In any event, the bond principal and interest will be paid via tax levy.
The bonds, yes.
Right. The interest comes out of our operating?
No,
It's all tax levy?
mm-hmm,
Okay.
because they are
All right.
they're placed on file with the county
Right.
treasurer's office.
Any other?
I'm with you.
You with me? You got it? Okay, thank you very much. I think we
welcome.
conclude our financial reports. We'll move on now to the operations, and Trustee Kennedy.
Yes, Rick Jinks, present the operations discussion, starting with personnel report.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Good evening, Board. The first item up tonight is the personnel report, which is included in your packet. As you can see, there were no appointments. There are 2 departures, one for a full-time biology professor and one for a full-time chemistry professor. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry?
Uh,
Mr. Nelson.
Without getting into any specifics, no appointments, 2 departures. I hope we're not going back to the revolving door, or, in other words, I hope these folks wanted to leave for better opportunities or whatever, and you don't need to answer that, but I just want to express some, we like stability. At least I do on the board.
My next item will probably be able to address that a little bit. So the next item is the quarterly Human Resources Personnel Report. This is the results of the third quarter. As you can see, we have departures and we also have hires. We have more hires than departures. But on that note, regarding our turnover rate, as you would put it, we do see that this information here is trending at about 12% turnover annually, which is pretty consistent. It's similar to what we had in 2017, 2020, 2021, and 2023. So we're actually down a little bit. We've actually had higher rates of up to 17% in 2015, 16, 18, 19, and 22. So at this particular moment, we are trending about where we have in the past at about the 12%.
No better, no worse.
No, yeah. People come, people
Trustee Kudia has a question.
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
actually, just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Nelson was saying. I think I was kind of thinking the same thing, that I was hoping they went on to like greener pastures and, or maybe,
I'm sure.
maybe they won the lottery or
I'm sure they
something.
did. I do not have those details,
Yeah.
and I don't know that if I did, I could discuss them in an open meeting. So.
And that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, move on to the next item.
Certainly.
Which is
So the next item, I'm going to turn it over to
equity
my
plan.
colleague, and Keith Barnes, who will talk about his
Barnes?
equity plan.
Thank you, Rick. Just real quick, I wanted to highlight some of the recommendations that we got for revisions to the equity plan. To give you some context, the state passed a law requiring all institutions to create and submit an equity plan and practices to increase the access and success of student outcomes with regards to different subpopulations. And so in 2023, in anticipation of having to submit the plan, we created and adopted a plan in February 2023, and it's due May 31st, which is in a few weeks. And so we've been convening meetings with different stakeholders to get recommendations as we continue to revise the plan. I am not going to go over every recommendation. It's in the packet that you received. I just want to highlight some that's based on the framework that IBHE provided for us. And the overall goal is to be as succinct and answer the questions that ICCB wants us to address in the plan. So in the introduction, they wanted to show evidence of institutional visions for diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility. And so one of the recommendations we received was to add accessibility to pillar number 4 of the RVC strategic plan so that it would be in line with the language that's in the framework, and to further demonstrate our commitment to providing an accessible campus for our students and employees and visitors with disability. In Roman numeral 3, analyze data. This involves assessing equity gaps by institutional categories and subgroups, which we do an excellent job through our key performance indicators. But 2 things we want to add moving forward is data around rural students and student loan default rates. And so that's something that we hadn't added in the past, but because of the framework that they gave us, we wanted to include those moving forward. In Roman numeral 4, assessing campus climate data, that includes all our efforts to collect climate surveys and summary findings. So as an example, we shared with you the employee culture survey results and how we are using that to inform us on how we can create a better climate and a better campus climate for our employees and our students. And we're trying to develop a similar process for the data we collect directly from students. And then in Roman numeral 5, we want to develop an integrated, holistic plan of research and practice, inform policy, strategy, services, and practices to close equity gaps. And we would do that as a derivative from our student enrollment management plan, which we are currently updating, our academic plan, which we are currently updating, our HR plan, and the industry partners and community engagement plan. All of those plans have strategic priorities addressing equity gaps. And so I think that's all I would share with you. Like I said, all the other recommendations are in the packet, and I am ready to entertain any questions if you have it. My plan is to share the final draft with my colleagues on the cabinet on Tuesday and with the president on Friday, so I can get it done before Memorial Day, which is my 14th wedding anniversary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barnes. Any questions? If not, we will move on
No
to
questions.
the next item.
Very good. Thank you.
Building number 2 upgrade.
Yeah, I do have an update for CL2. This is just a verbal update as some of the information I actually received this week, some of it today. After we received direction from the board on the CL2 project, including the black box theater, we were able to then submit an architect scope of work to CDB. CDB has advised that they have received that scope of work and we're working with them to finalize it. They are anticipating, as Ellen stated earlier, that we will have to have our trust fund in place by September. This is all subject to change because it is CDB, and if there's anything they do well is change their mind a little bit and change dates and times. However, they have also advised that they are going to require the building to have LEED Silver certification, which is common in CDB projects. If you recall, CL1, which is also a CDB project, is LEED Silver certified. And basically, a majority of that was accomplished by utilizing the underground thermal fields from the JCSM and CL1. And I know that when they laid that out, they laid it out so that we could also use some of that for CL2. So this was expected and is not something that was new or unanticipated. In addition, similar to CL1, they have advised that we have to spend $85,425 on art in architecture. I do not know where they came up with this number, but they are very specific. In addition, it appears in the documents they're sending, instead of 17 million, they're doing $17,085,000 from the state. So the state appears to be giving us $85,000. So in total, we have to spend $425 because they're already giving us the 85. So it's not uncommon for them to want art in architectural buildings. They did that in CL1. As a matter of fact, we are actually still waiting for a sculpture that was supposed to be built for CL1 so that we can close out that project. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the project for CL2. Questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, real quick.
Mr. McGorsky.
Is it art and an architectural, or art in an architect?
It's called art in architecture.
Okay, they know. Do they understand part of the building is a theater? You might remind them of that a good portion of it is an architectural. It's a theater. It's gonna. Okay.
Let's just say it should fit well in the building. We shouldn't have any problems.
Okay. All right.
So.
I just don't want to spend any more money to put art in a theater. I mean.
Mr. Nelson.
I understand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only question is, so if we know some local artists or sculptors, we should let them know that this is coming up, or what?
You can let them know that they will have to go through the CDB process to become a vendor for them in order to be considered to do the architecture or the art.
But if you know some local artists or something that you'd like to share with us,
I do not know what the process is for CDB to do that, but we can share the individuals with CDB.
It'll just probably be a statue of an artist wrapped in red tape, though.
I think I like it. I like the concept.
Okay, that is potential. Any other questions
anything else?
CL2? The other item that I wanted to bring before the board is a change order for the power shed construction. As the board may recall, we have multiple projects going this summer, including the power shed upgrade, which is a power building located on the other side of campus that I showed you pictures is falling over. We're finally getting to the point where we're replacing that. As part of that building feeds power to building F and Building E. During the course of the investigations, we knew that there were code issues in Building F that needed to be investigated by the qualified electrician after we had issued the bid. So we did that investigations with the electricians from the job, and we have been able to determine a pathway to rectify those violations, and that will cost $3,164. As you can see, the original contingency is listed there, and after this change order, it will be $27,366. I will remind you that there are other projects that are going. We have the air handling units that are being replaced in the WTC this summer. We have pathways that are being replaced around campus. We have seal coating that is going on in Lot 1s, Lot 2, Lot 2B, and Lot 4. We have a generator that's being installed in the JCSM. So we have many projects, and if there are any change orders associated with those projects, again, I will bring them to you so that you can see them. Is there any questions about this particular change order?
Any questions? If not, we'll move on to the calendar.
The final item is the calendar. I will basically say that May is graduation. So there are many, many, many items on this list that have to deal with some form of graduation. I know that you have an individual list, I believe, that was given to you also, and I know Dr. Spearman will speak to it a little more. So I won't bore you with all those details. I will say that there are a couple of 5K walks coming up. One to benefit veterans, which is called Who Gives a Ruck, which is a rucksack that they carry through the 5K. But the other events continue on, and actually there is a ceremony in June for HCCTP also, so it's not just May. Does anybody have any questions about events?
I would like to make a comment.
Sure.
I am proud to say that I will be attending the respiratory pinning tomorrow.
Wonderful.
And the recipient of back-to-back scholarships in my wife's name will be pinned, and she'll be graduating on Friday.
That's wonderful news. Wonderful news. It is a wonderful time right now around the college with all these graduations.
Thank you. Okay, any other business, unfinished business, new business?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Regarding the unfinished business, just to finish up with commencement, I believe each of you have responded to Ann's email regarding whether or not you're going to participate in commencement ceremonies, 2 o'clock or the 6 p.m. Also, Bob just alluded to the respiratory care pinning, and there are other opportunities for you to come on campus as well. And then, depending on, well, we also have a race completion ceremony that's on May 23rd. So it's students with intellectual disabilities. If you can't get to one this week, I would encourage you to try to get to that one next week. It's a great event to be at, but you have that information, so feel free to let us know. Regarding additional unfinished business, before we spoke to you about HLC and that visit, and we were concerned about whether or not they would allow us to do HLC on October 14th and 15th because of Columbus Day. They came back and said that they would be comfortable with us maintaining a October 15th date. So the original plan could still stand when we asked you to save the date for 8 a.m. on October 15th. If you, as a board, are willing to maybe, I believe we're thinking about maybe breakfast with the HLC committee. All right, so if you're still okay with that, please say that date, and we'll make sure it's noted as a special meeting when we get closer to that time frame.
Well, it's not like we have any choice. So we're okay with it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a case if
Well,
you
we
can
gotta get
attend.
4 people, I mean,
Yeah, if you
I'll
can.
be there.
Yeah, I'll be there. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, we want to make sure that you followed up with Ann's email regarding the ICTA Awards banquet. That is June 7th, followed by the ICTA convention on June 8th. Right now, we know that Board Chair Trojan and Vice Chair Kudir are planning to attend. If anyone else is planning to attend, and our student trustee is planning to attend as well. So if anyone else is planning to attend, please let us know. And also, as our ICTA representatives, let us know if you're planning to attend on that Saturday. What we need to find out is, if you're traveling by yourself, not major ordeal, but we have until the 23rd, Kerwitz? Is it the 23rd?
May 23rd, you mean?
Yes, to do RSVPs for the banquet. Yes, so if you're planning, if you're gonna attend on Saturday and you're going to be at the banquet on Friday, that's a late banquet. That gets done after 9, maybe even a little later, but definitely around 9 or after 9 o'clock. And so if you're going to be there Saturday, you may want to stay in the hotel so you don't have to come back and forth. So let Ann know tonight or tomorrow regarding what your plans are, okay?
So we are going for the reception and the awards.
Yes.
Coming back that night.
Correct.
We're
And
not
we'll,
staying overnight.
yes, Gloria
I
and
would
Bob.
plan to attend, and maybe my colleague here might go with me if she's available.
I unfortunately, it's I have celebration of life for my cousin that passed away, so. that
Well, that's,
weekend, so I will
let
not
you
be
out
able to
that,
attend,
out of that.
Okay. That's that. Sorry to hear.
But next year.
Okay, so then we may have one, Trustee Nelson, you are planning to attend, and you're going to,
Yes, I have to check
okay,
with the boss.
all right. Not a problem. After you check with the boss, feel free to inform my boss over there, Kerwitz.
There you
All right? And then we'll be good to go. And then that's it for my update. You still have one more, and it sounds like Gloria has.
Yeah, all I want to say is I just want to congratulate the organizers of the Sankofa event. It is something such an extraordinary event that if any trustees have not been to one, you need to make sure you go next year. It is very moving. It just reminds us of where we all come from and how important family and ancestors are and why we're here today. So it's just an amazing, touching event. So I would encourage you all. And the food is great, too. So, but it was very good. I encourage you all to remember to go next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one item unfinished. It's my understanding that we still are trying to figure out what to do with the policy changes, and I think, John, you were going to submit your recommendations or whatever, and I don't know if you got those yet?
I am at section 6A, and I plowed through a fair amount of the things, but I've got a few left to go.
Yeah, because I would be a little concerned if it drags on too long with HLC coming around the corner. I'd hate to see that kind of interfere.
Well, Bob, and so would I. However, I've had some actual legal clients to take care of as I'm trying to plow through
Well,
this.
please hurry up, please.
I will do
I would
my best.
encourage you to please hurry up.
Well, I'll have some by Thursday. Meant to have them last week, but something came up. But one or two of them actually touches on some DEI stuff, like accessibility to campus, just cleaning up some of the policy language there. So it's not much debatable, but and then some other stuff would probably be. What I see is some of the stuff that maybe John's going to suggest, maybe that I'm going to suggest. There's a group of stuff that you'll see is just, as me as a copywriter, editor, is pretty much cleanup. Okay, and that stuff you can move along pretty well, but then we would have to agree to pass what we have at that
Yeah,
point,
right.
and then discuss anything else major after the fact and move on with that. So And that's what I see the process, and I think we have time to do some of that, so. But I should have some in, I should have some in by Thursday.
I know,
I'll
but
send
still, it'd be
directly
nice to
you.
get it done sooner than 90 days. Right.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, any other unfinished or new business?
No, sir.
If not, we do have a closed session, so we need a motion.
Make a motion to go to.
Oh,
closed
he's
session.
got it here, the secretary usually does the motion.
I move to adjourn the closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting per Section 2, C1, and/or 2, litigation has been filed as pending or probable per Section 2C11, all accordance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, he moved, you second. And roll call.
Gorski,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Kennedy, yes. Noega,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Soltal,
Yes.
Trojan.
Yes,
We're in closed session.
We're not in
close the
closed
doors,
session
get
yet.
everybody out of here.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
I don't need, it'll be just Attorney Christopher Gorman in closed session. And that'll
It's
be it
Chris
for this
Gorman, that's
evening.
it? Everybody else is gone.
I call it the whole name. Oh, okay. I'll make sure nobody goes in there. Okay. Yeah.
The next regular Board of Trustee meeting, May 28th at 5:15 PM. Meeting will be held in the Performing Arts Room, room 0214 in the ERC on the main campus. Next Committee of the Whole meeting, June 11th, 2024, 5:15. Meeting will be held in the PAR, room 214 in ERC. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Second.
To adjourn.
Motion by Kudia, second by John.
Roll call, Gorski,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Padilla,
No.
Oh, wow!
Kennedy, yes. Noega,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
I learned from you guys.
Soltow,
Yes.
Trojan.
Yes.
I voted, I just will have to go home.
Well,
Thank
that
you.
was
Trustee
2
Otay.
hours and 45 minutes, and of course,
Have
half
a
an
great
hour
evening.
was close.
You too. Thanks.
But
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Call me sometime.
I think, Howard, I
Yes,
think
I
it'd be
will.
unanimous if we could arrange the future agendas to be no more than 2 hours,
Correct.
right?
Well, that depends on your request. Most of these, there's only about 2 or 3 of them that we added. Most of the stuff is everything that you wanted.
Like what?
Go through it. Go through it.
No. I ask for it, but I rarely get what I want, Howard, so.
I think we should stop asking.
Yeah, that's right.
Set the goal at 2 hours so we get out of here. And we're not gonna start at 7.